But this one is a tough one, man, because this one, you don't know what it's going to look like in 2 or 3 years when people look back on this season and what this team did. But where we're sitting right now in this moment, it's hard to believe that this season won't be looked back on, at least partially, for what could have been. FAU is scheduled to play the University of Tennessee on Thursday night at 8 o'clock. In Madison Square Garden.
Tennessee versus Memphis in the Sweet 16. Holy
Good
mackerel.
God, stop it. Don't even say that.
Could you imagine? Could you damn imagine? Because Rick Barnes is never scheduling Penny ever again in the regular season. We're not going to see that matchup. And this would have been our one chance.
For Memphis to get them in the Sweet 16 in Madison Square Garden.
And I would like their chances.
I would like their chances.
I would too. Even though Tennessee looked really good against Duke, I still would like their chances.
Absolutely. But that's not the case.
Yep.
FAU's there. It's tough. It's tough.
That's again, I mean, if you just toss out like that Fairleigh Dickinson, say Purdue won, you feel a little. You don't feel the worst.
No,
you feel bad. You feel bad,
right?
Especially if you lost it this way, you still feel bad. But if Purdue would have won, you just feel like okay, well, it's a 1 seed. You still had to go through them to make a decent run, the run that you want. But Fairleigh Dickinson and what? Do you think that got to the guys? Do you think they sort of had that in their mind going into the game? Kind of hard not to.
I don't know, but I think it could have absolutely, because there's no doubt that this whole weekend, at least a little bit of Purdue and Zach Edey has been in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
Like there's no way that Memphis hasn't had a coach scouting Purdue, because you have a 1-day turnaround before you have to play them again. So somebody's been scouting Purdue in that building, I'm sure.
Well, Penny had said, I think, in some of his press availability that he did a little
research
early.
on them. Yeah,
he obviously didn't put it on the guys yet, but he did a little early scouting. He needs to.
So you know, and just college kids being college kids, paying attention to ESPN, NCAA tournament, all that. You know what's around the corner.
Yeah,
we talked about. I mean, everybody in Memphis
room,
media.
I guarantee there was at least a couple of discussions about, guys, did you just see that? That's who we play next.
Yeah,
if we get through this game,
right. And I think I don't know. I don't know what it does to you mentally in that situation, but maybe it takes some of that tightness away, just that like we have to play to the best of our ability to get to the Sweet 16. And it's like, well, now we kind of don't. We get to play a 16 seed if we win this game.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
The look-ahead factor is a lot less if Purdue wins.
Absolutely. Yeah. Maybe Purdue wins, Memphis wins this game, and would have played Purdue yesterday.
Obviously,
who knows?
This is speculation. We do that every time.
It's fun, though, man.
Time to time. But
it's fun.
I think there's something to that mentally. There is
absolutely agree.
Now, I guess from here, 26-9, finished 24th in the AP poll, 23rd in the net was the finish, 19 in Ken Palm. You win an AAC tournament. Like overall season thoughts.
It's very successful.
Yeah.
Regardless of what happened.
It's wrapped in a disappointment in the NCAA tournament, no question. You can't 100% hide from that.
There's no getting away from that. But looking at the season as a whole, because what did we really think Memphis was going to make the Sweet 16? We thought it was a possibility.
A tournament bid was what you were hoping.
Tournament bid is what you wanted, maybe a first round win. That was the absolute max expectations on this team at the beginning of the year. And they hit that. Now, when the devil's in the details, and when you look at the details, it hurts. And it's going to hurt Memphis fans for a long time. And we know that just because of
what could have been. The
stars couldn't align any more perfectly. Yeah. Kind of as we've hinted at. It doesn't happen like that. The storybook doesn't write itself like that. Like I said, that was straight out of a movie, and they just didn't show up. But regardless, successful season, absolutely. This team wasn't supposed to be this good. This wasn't supposed to be a top 25 team in the country. This team wasn't supposed to win the AAC tournament championship. They weren't supposed to beat the number 1 team in the country. No, this team didn't look like they had that.
4-1 in the SEC schedule,
right?
Probably not in the books.
No, not at all.
Beginning of the year.
And you look back on what this team accomplished. Very successful season. Penny did an incredible job. Kendrick and DeAndre were amazing. The new look coaching staff really shined at times. There's no bad to take away from this season until this.
It's funny because like I've always said, if the guy's name wasn't Penny Hardaway, it would be a different conversation nationally, especially 111-52, 2 NCAA tournaments in a row, 2 in 5 years, 2 in 4 years because 2020 he couldn't have done it. And honestly, this tournament bid was locked in from February on. Like you just sort of knew if they take care of business against inferior opponents, they'll be good, and they did. And they did for the most part. But you were 4-1 in that SEC slate. You played the number one team in the country at home. It took a buzzer beater for them to beat you then. You had 18,000 in the seats. That's why you brought in Penny Hardaway, is to have 18,000 in the seats. You end up beating that team in the AAC tournament. You win the AAC tournament for the first time in ever.
10 years.
Well, first time ever.
First conference tournament in 10
in
years.
a decade.
Yeah.
Like you look at all those accomplishments, man, it was a hell of a season. But that failure there at the end of that game in that in-game situation just looms so large, and it's brutal to see. But I think ultimately, I don't know how you look at the entirety of this season and say anything other than damn full success.
The question I have is, would you rather be disappointed by a non-showing in the NCAA tournament, like not getting a bid, not getting a seed,
no. Absolutely
or
not.
losing in the first round like
Absolutely
the way
not.
they did?
The NCAA tournament was the bar,
Right.
So you had to get that, and then it would have if you didn't make the NCAA tournament. I think that's a disappointment.
Yeah, if they would have been the NIT, it would not have been a good look.
But there was never really a big thought. I guess after that first Temple loss, you're like, okay, where do we go from here? I think we had conversations.
Tulane
loss, sorry.
Yeah.
After that first Tulane loss, you said, okay, where the hell do we go from here?
Right.
And I guess after that, it was the Temple close call on the road. You said, where the hell do we go from here?
Yeah.
And from a couple games after that on, you just knew that this was a tournament team. They looked like a tournament team. They fit the bill. They had 2 stars. And it felt like that was always sort of going to be in the books for them.
And in that AAC tournament, they looked like a team that could beat anybody in the country.
Yeah.
100%.
And it's so funny, man, like, when everybody knows this who's played sports in their life, momentum is a hell of a thing to have, right? And when they were in the AAC tournament in Fort Worth, playing those 3 games back to back, 3 days, you could tell there was a level of momentum that they were carrying. And I even asked DeAndre, I think it was on Tuesday before they left to go to Columbus. I asked him, I said, is that something that you are aware of, like the momentum that you guys came out of Fort Worth with? Did you just want to go straight to Columbus and keep playing? Because those 4 days, man, coming back home, back to those daily grind issues that they might be having, back to those, girl issues, whether it be schoolwork stuff, bills, piling up, like those kinds of things, like the real world hit you again. And then you got to go back and try to recapture that momentum that you had 4 days ago. And that's a brutal thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I had questions about that. Honestly, I didn't know. I was like, what is DeAndre especially? Are you going to be able to continue this momentum? Are you concerned about that? And he said straight up, he goes, we got a coach that keeps us in kill mode on a constant basis. And clearly it didn't happen on Friday.
It didn't come together.
No, this season will always have a but behind it.
Yes, for sure.
Which most of them do.
Only one team.
Only one team wins it. But I mean,
would there have been a but if they got to the Elite
Sweet
8
16?
Or Sweet 16? No, probably not.
For some people, there would have been.
I mean,
there always
but
is.
we lost to Tennessee or whatever. However, it would have shook out. You know what I mean? But like losing in the first round is there's a big but there.
There
to a
is.
team that's going to be in your conference next year.
Yeah. All things considered, it was a successful season, but it still hurts.
Yes, it does.